Hello everyone and welcome to the inaugural episode of The Weekly Scene. My name is James Seagraves, aka Quakehater, as you can see here from the Twitter thing. This is going to be the first ever episode of my movie talk show. I'm very interested in movies, have been my whole life. Used to own my own video store back in the day, before physical media became obsolete, obviously. And, you know, something I really wanted to do for a while. I've done podcasts for other, like fantasy sports, etc. So now we're going to do something that is my true passion, which is, movies and, film in general, news and everything else. So with that, hope you enjoy this, and we're going to get started. I'm going to take, once a week, we're going to do these podcasts and take about the most, relevant movie items, in my opinion anyway. There may be more intriguing news out there, but I might not be interested in it. So, and I'll give my little reviews on it and thoughts, Quickly, a little introduction about me. I am 31 years old. I have two children, a boy who's 7 and a daughter who is 3. I'm happily married, although I lost my wedding ring a while ago outside when I was, taking my dog out to do its business. But anyway, I have, extensive background in movies, just generally watching them and renting them at my store for so many years. So, I've dabbled in screenwriting here and there, but nothing official yet. Hopefully you just enjoy these, and we'll get going here. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about today is the Lego Movie. This is a movie that came out last weekend, last Friday, and it's something that, we took our kids to see it on Saturday, and, we did not see it in 3D. I'm not a 3D fan, personally, although I've heard this is a phenomenal movie to see in 3D. My son's not a big fan of the glasses. My daughter probably would have broken them. And I personally just think it's a gimmick, and I'm not a fan of it, much like Christopher Nolan, okay? So, real quick, let me just break down some box office numbers from the Lego Movie, okay? It pulled in $69.1 million this weekend. As of right now, today being Thursday, it's pulled in like $79 million, I believe, in the United States, okay? $69.1 million for opening weekend is the second highest grossing debut for a film in February of all time, second only to The Passion of the Christ, which coincidentally was also about a special guy. My thoughts on the movie were it was incredible. It was one of the best children's movies I've ever seen. I rank it right up there with Toy Story 2. I kind of take the not so popular approach and thinking that Toy Story 2 is the best of the Toy Story movies. A lot of people think Toy Story 1 is, and a lot of people think Toy Story 3 is. I think that Toy Story 2 hit it perfectly out of the park. I mean, I love that movie. It's been my most favorite children's movie ever. And I think that the Lego Movie kind of ranks right up there with it. I mean, in many ways, I actually enjoyed it more. There's a lot more going on, obviously, which is one of the reasons I think that its reviews aren't as good as the Toy Story movies in terms of Rotten Tomatoes, which I'll talk about here in a second. A lot of hectic stuff going on. Some people might not like that. I personally thought it was great. Kept a great pace throughout the movie. I was constantly entertained. In fact, there's so much going on in this movie that I might take my son to go see it again, and maybe even a third time to try to focus on everything that was going on. So many cool cameos, appearances from basically every Lego character known to man, some of which were so fast you didn't realize they were there. But excellent humor. Excellent voice work. I mean, I'll tell you, the voice work on this movie blew my mind. Chris Pratt, as the main character, hit it out of the park. He was spot on. I couldn't really picture anyone else doing the voice of Emmett, which is the main character's name, and having that feel. I mean, he's a very emotional, actor, and his voice comes through. I mean, Emmett's not your typical hero. He's like a typical guy, and that's kind of the whole point of the movie. So, Chris Pratt, I thought, voiced him flawlessly. Other vocal standouts, in my opinion, from that movie were Morgan Freeman. I'm not going to talk about what happens in the movie. I'm not going to talk about a lot of things, but Morgan Freeman's very good. And I thought the most impressive was Liam Neeson, who basically, he plays a cop, which is a good cop, bad cop. He plays both parts, and he's incredible. And I think that when you see the movie and you picture Liam Neeson in the recording booth doing some of these voices, is just kind of comical to think about, Also, Will Ferrell, who plays the main bad guy, President Business, he was really, really good as well. So, overall, it's gotten 96% on Rotten Tomatoes with 138 reviews, so that's pretty darn good. By comparison, the latest, kids movie to be, successful would be Frozen, which I also liked a lot. That's got 85% on Rotten Tomatoes, so not as high as the Lego Movie did, obviously. But, you know, I personally like the Lego Movie a lot more. My daughter would disagree, but my son would totally agree with me. And then going back to that, you know, I was talking to one of the guys I work with. He was talking about how he wasn't going to take his kids to see it because he thought it was a boy movie, quote unquote. I would not say it was a boy movie. There's a lot of stuff for girls in there. My daughter loved the movie. There's several things that are geared towards, you know, female viewers. But I mean, all kids play with Legos. I mean, so I don't think I would label it a boy movie by any stretch. Frozen, on the flip side, I could see how people could label that a girl movie because of the fact that, you know, it's, you know, a lot of, you know, Disney princesses, a lot of singing and stuff. Whatever. I don't put labels on anything. Colors, you know, movies, anything like that. My son liked Frozen a lot. My daughter liked Lego Movie a lot. So be it. So if you have girls, take them to see it. It's well worth it. And, you know, potentially see it in 3D if your kids don't hate 3D. But back to the Rotten Tomatoes discussion. I pulled up some of the more popular, highest reviewed, you know, famous kids movies, okay, recently, okay? And, like I said, the Lego Movie is 96% with 138 reviews. That's a ton of reviews to still have to 96%. Ranking against my personal favorite kids movie of all time, Toy Story 2, had 100% in Rotten Tomatoes, 163 reviews. Toy Story 3 had 99% with 266 reviews, so excellent job there. Toy Story 1, 100% again, only 78 reviews there. So the Toy Story movies, obviously widely regarded as some of the best, you know, children's films, you know, of all time, and rightfully so. All three of those movies are great. I personally like the second one the best. A couple other Pixar movies from recent memory that I really enjoyed. WALL-E was 96% with 238 reviews, so right up there with the Lego Movie, and Up 98% with 278 reviews. Now, I personally was not a huge fan of Up. I thought that the Lego Movie was vastly better than Up. I mean, the first half of Up was incredible, but the second half just kind of like, you know, kind of snoozed through it. And WALL-E is another one of those movies. When I first watched it, I did not like it very much at all. On the subsequent viewings, however, I think it is just an amazing movie. And coincidentally, both WALL-E and Lego Movie have been branded by the infamous Fox News as being anti-business, which I'm not even going to get in that discussion. It's so ridiculous, but coincidentally, they both have 96%. So maybe there's something going on there, but I doubt it, okay? So the second thing we're going to talk about today is going to be the fact that Will Smith is not returning for Independence Day 2. Now, Roland Emmerich, who's directing this film, directed the first one, has said that he wrote 2 scripts for this movie, one with Will Smith, one without Will Smith, so they'd be ready to do it with or without him. I'm not sure why Will Smith would turn down this movie. I don't know what he's thinking, really, because the fact that, you know, quite honestly, he hasn't had a really memorable, like, hey, I want to say this is a good Will Smith movie since 2007's I Am Legend, which I love that movie, really. I mean, when I saw like an early build of it before the special effects were done, and I was not impressed. Once the special effects were done, obviously it was a completely different experience. So I Am Legend was a great flick. Since then, he's had films like Hancock, which, you know, wasn't a terrible movie. It did okay at the box office, but it wasn't, you know, I Am Legend or I, Robot or anything like that, or especially Independence Day, you know, Bad Boys Success, something like that. But yeah, I mean, lately he's been kind of, you know, just, you know, and I know he's focusing on being a father, which I totally, you know, respect him for that. But in terms of turning down a movie that is going to be, I mean, it could have been just enormous. Now, without Will Smith in it, I'll be honest with you, it's not going to be as big, clearly. But Will Smith's career could use something like this, okay? He is not really, like I said, it's been, 7 years since his last actual, you know, respectable movie, in my opinion. And, you know, I mean, the bottom line is he went and did Men in Black 3, like last year, two years ago, I think it was 2012. Why? You'd come back for Men in Black 3, but you won't come back for Independence Day 2? I know it's been 20 years since Independence Day has come out. They've been working on this movie for a long time. But you came back for Men in Black 3, which Men in Black 2 in itself was ridiculous. Men in Black 3 is even more ridiculous. You do that, but you won't come back for Independence Day, which was the film that propelled you into superstardom. I think it's a pretty terrible move on your part, Will Smith. Of course, I'm sitting here in my attic, and you're who knows what you're doing right now. So you probably shouldn't take advice from me. But honestly, after the After Earth debacle, I don't know. Maybe you should just retire in general. Because Shyamalan. That's another discussion. Shyamalan. I used to love Shyamalan, but he's just box office poison at this point. They hit his name from that movie. They tried basically drawing on the Smith, father and son combination to draw people into that theater. And ultimately, guess what? The movie bombed and it got horrible reviews. And now Will Smith had a chance to basically resurrect his career and go back up to superstardom with Independence Day 2. And he has declined to be in such film. I don't know who's going to be in that movie, honestly. I haven't seen any real casting. I hear Bill Pullman is going to be in it. I'm not sure if he's going to be a main character. I hope Jeff Goldblum, because I love Jeff Goldblum. But I heard rumors, and this is just rumor, obviously, that Michael B. Jordan could be filling in for Will Smith. That'd be kind of cool. I like him, but that's just someone talking as of right now. So I don't know about that, Will Smith. I don't know if that's a good move or not. I guess continue to focus on being a dad, and as long as you don't make any more Wild Wild West or I don't know. It's just don't do anything Shyamalan touches again, please. So, all right, the third story we're going to talk about, and this is more than a week old, and we're supposed to be doing these these podcasts every week, but this is something so big I felt that I need to touch on it on the inaugural episode here, okay? And that is the casting of Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor for Man of Steel 2, Batman vs. Superman, whatever you want to call it, okay? Now, I've been following the news of this movie ever since they announced it at Comic-Con, okay? I was very excited. Despite wearing a Superman hoodie today, I'm actually I'm more of a Batman fan, okay? I love Batman. I love the first two Christopher Nolan movies of Batman. The third one I thought was a bit of a disaster, although it wasn't terrible, okay? And I loved Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, the original one, okay? And I wouldn't say it's as good as The Dark Knight, but I would say it's better than The Dark Knight Rises, honestly, okay? So I've been very interested in the casting and all this stuff, production and stuff like that. When they announced Ben Affleck as Batman, I was not initially excited, to be honest with you. I was like, I don't know about that. I'm looking for an older, more experienced Batman. I actually like Ben Affleck as an actor. I mean, I think that the people who flipped out over it are unfair to Ben Affleck because they think about, the forces of nature Ben Affleck, or the reindeer games Ben Affleck, stuff like that, Not even the cool Good Will Hunting Ben Affleck, but like that, where he was everywhere for a long time. I think that's very unfair because in the recent years, he has done phenomenally. Like The Town is one of my recently favorite movies. And also Argo was very, very good. So him behind the camera, he's an amazing director. And then, to translate that into, recent acting performances have been very good. Even in Runner, he wasn't the problem with that movie. He was pretty good in that film. So Ben Affleck, I was not excited, but I wasn't, devastated by it. The Gal Gadot, which is how it's pronounced actually, the Gal Gadot casting, I was like, what? What is going on here? This girl's not even an actress. You're casting a model to play this iconic woman's character. The woman superhero. Like, I don't know what you're thinking there, but, sure. I mean, I was able to look past it. I mean, sure, maybe she'll bulk up. Maybe she actually has some acting chops. I wasn't excited about it. But, as this subject says right here, this is about Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. When I heard this news, I flipped out. Not in a good way. I can look past the Ben Affleck thing. I can look past the Gal Gadot thing. I cannot possibly look past Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor initially, okay? First of all, even though he's the same age as Henry Cavill, he looks like he's 12, okay? Henry Cavill's 30, Jesse Eisenberg's 30. But he does not look 30. When they stand toe-to-toe, that's going to look like someone's about to beat his child, which I can't take seriously at all. On top of that, this is supposed to be a menacing multi-billionaire who has a completely crazy range of emotions. When I look at Jesse Eisenberg, I don't get that. I get some punk, more on that later, some, spoiled rich kid vibe, potentially, okay? And on top of that, even though he was nominated for, an Academy Award for The Social Network, which he played, Mark Zuckerberg. Honestly, every movie I've seen him in since then, he's basically been that exact same character. He delivers his lines very flatly, with, he's got a lot of sarcasm, he corrects jokes, but doesn't really show a lot of emotion. And I'm like, you're going to cast this guy as Lex Luthor in this movie, on top of all the other ridiculous casting? I don't know, man. I am not a big fan of this at all. I think that, they had the following names were rumored for this role, okay? We had Bryan Cranston, a.k.a. Walter White from Breaking Bad. And the funny thing was there's a big joke going on where people say, we wanted Heisenberg, not Eisenberg, so if you watch that show, you know what that means. Denzel Washington, Tom Hanks, and Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, I don't care about race or anything like that, alright? I would definitely not have a problem if you cast Denzel Washington as Lex Luthor because of the fact that he's an experienced actor, he's older, he can actually act for one, so I don't care what color skin you have, as long as you can act and you fit the other molds of the role. Tom Hanks, Joaquin Phoenix, phenomenal actors. Plus, Tom Hanks, when was the last time he was a bad guy? Never. So, they could have hit it out of the park with these things, then they cast Jesse Eisenberg. Why? Why did you cast Jesse Eisenberg? Okay? Add fuel to the fire that there's rumors going around that he is going to be a tattooed skinhead street punk, and I might not even go to the movies to see this. Why would you do that? This is a perfect... The guy, Lex Luthor as a character is very, very deep and very, very established. Why would you want to uproot all that? A, by casting Jesse Eisenberg, and B, turn him into a street punk. It makes no sense whatsoever. Oh, I hope that second part of the rumor is not true. Now, in his defense, okay, or in Zack Snyder's defense, everyone is always going to fall back on the fact that everyone flipped out when they cast Ben Affleck as, Batman. Everyone flipped out when they cast Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. But go back many more years, everyone flipped out when they cast Heath Ledger as the Joker. Don't ever let anyone deny it. If someone says, I didn't flip out when they cast Heath Ledger as the Joker, they're lying to you, okay? So, that particular casting turned out to be phenomenal. Obviously one of the greatest performances ever, in my opinion. Definitely the best superhero performance, / villain, whatever you want to call it. Totally changed the game in terms of, what is this? Sorry, I accidentally launched something I wasn't supposed to. But yeah, totally changed the game in terms of, performances from in comic book movies. So, yeah, sorry, I had a little hiccup there. So the next story is going to be, the fourth story of the day is going to be about the recently announced Tarzan 3D movie. No one knows when this is coming out officially yet, but here's what we do know about it, okay? The film is set to star Alexander Skarsgard, who will be Tarzan. He, of course, is most famous for playing Eric in True Blood, which is, another story on that here in a second. Margot Robbie from Wolf of Wall Street will play Jane Porter. And David Yates will direct this film, okay? David Yates has directed like 4 Harry Potter movies. So let's go with the casting of the people first. Alexander Skarsgård, Eric. I've seen a few episodes of True Blood. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it's severely overrated. I've tried watching it 4 different times, like starting from season 1 and going, and I get to about the same point every single time, and I'm like, oh, I just can't take it. And I know, my wife loves it, a lot of people love it, just not my style. I don't know. And I think it's just absolutely ridiculous to compare it to Game of Thrones, which is on, obviously during the same era on HBO. What a joke. Game of Thrones destroys that show. So I don't really know a lot from this guy. I just know that, I've seen him in a little bit of action there. And, I think it seems like an okay casting, honestly, even though I don't like Game of Thrones that much. Now, Margot Robbie, that would be a different story, okay? Because, let me tell you, I would go to the theater to see this girl play Jane, okay? Because she is smoking hot, no doubt about it. She, of course, is, Wolf of Wall Street, as you can see from this picture here. That's her. She is just completely gorgeous. Not even my style of woman, to be honest with you, but I will not deny her beauty. Interesting thing on her is that she apparently is the mad part stealer, because she replaced Kristen Stewart in the 2014 film coming out here. Focus, which also stars Will Smith. Hey, won't do Independence Day 2, but you'll do Focus. And then she also beat out Emma Stone for the part of Jane in this movie. And Emma Stone is another discussion altogether. I used to love Emma Stone. I thought she was just incredible in Superbad and Zombieland, and I thought she was gorgeous in those movies. And then they put her in Amazing Spider-Man, and they bleach her hair, and I think she looks awful in that movie. So, Zombieland also starring Jesse Eisenberg, by the way. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know about Emma Stone, but I do know that Margot is gorgeous, and I might go see her just to see Jane in the outfits. Probably not, but I might. And the fact that the film being 3D, you know, I've already said I'm not a huge fan of 3D in general, so whatever. So yeah, kind of cool, I guess. I mean, the Tarzan movies, they seem to get, that's one of those movies that they basically seem to remake every 10 or 20 years. I think the last real version of it was the Disney version, which, you know, is a Disney movie. It's a cartoon. So, yeah. Next topic is going to be the Vision casting. Now, for those of you who have been following the Avengers 2 news, there's a lot of characters going to be in the Avengers 2 already. So, Vision is the latest. Paul Bettany, who has been voicing Jarvis since day one of the Iron Man saga, which is, of course, you know who Jarvis is if you're watching this. But yeah, Avengers 2 have cast Paul Bettany as the Vision. The Vision is a synthetic human who in the comics is created by Ultron as a form of virus to, like, kind of, you know, as like an artificial human to basically infiltrate the Avengers from the back door, I guess you could call it. So that's going to be interesting, okay? In the movies here, we don't know if that's what's going on or not because of the fact that, you know, Paul Bettany voices Jarvis. We don't know if Tony Stark is going to make Jarvis to fight Ultron or what. We don't know what's going on, but what we do know is that Paul Bettany, who's been doing voice work for this, you know, for all the Iron Man movies and the Avengers, is finally going to get to be in a body of the Vision, which is kind of cool because Paul Bettany, I know he's no stranger to action. He was in Legion, which is a phenomenal film if you've never seen it. It's an action movie. Great movie. Very creepy in parts, too, especially the diner scene. If people have seen it and they know what I'm talking about. Also in The Priest. Yeah, that's The Priest. But it's an action movie. Legion, though, was really, really good. So, good for you, Paul Bettany. I'm glad you can, you know, get out of the, you know, the butler role or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that'd be cool. Also, you know, I don't even want to talk about spoilers for potential things with the Scarlet Witch, but yeah, so we'll find out on that, okay? The next topic is going to be Gary Oldman, potentially in Star Wars Episode VII, alright? So, Gary Oldman was recently quoted as, when talking about Star Wars Episode VII, as saying this, quote, "They've called. You know, I'm more cynical about it now. I'll believe it when I'm on the plane home. The deal isn't done, but yeah, they've inquired." So, this is coming straight from Gary Oldman. This is not some random, I love to start movie news rumors.com site. This is straight from Gary Oldman's mouth. So this has much more, you know, credibility than a lot of the, you know, other ridiculous casting rumors we've heard. Star Wars Episode VII, kind of like the Batman vs. Superman in terms of casting rumors. So many things are thrown out there. We've heard Saoirse Ronan, we've heard Michael B. Jordan, we've heard Zac Efron, we've heard all kinds of different rumors for this. This is like the first time someone has actually said, you know, especially someone of his caliber, also Benedict Cumberbatch also was rumored. He's saying, I'll believe it when I hear it. The deal isn't done yet. The deal isn't done yet, but yeah, I'm inquiring. So what would this mean if Star Wars Episode VII could land Gary Oldman? It'd mean quite a bit, because in my opinion, Gary Oldman's one of the greatest actors who ever lived. I mean, he's right up there with, you know, I mean, modern, like, living actors anyway. He's right there with Daniel Day-Lewis, in my opinion. We have, you know, if you've ever seen True Romance, if you've never seen True Romance, go watch it immediately. If you have seen it, let's not forget that Gary Oldman played Drexel, who was, what? A black pimp, basically. Yeah, and that's Gary Oldman, kids. That is not, I mean, he's white, hello, and he's incredible in it. Like, when I first watched it, I didn't even realize that was him. It wasn't until years later someone said it was him that I realized it. So, And then also, I mean, this guy could play Drexel. He played Jean-Baptiste Emmanuel Zorg in The Fifth Element, another one of my favorite movies. He's great. Played Beethoven in Immortal Beloved. Played Dracula in Dracula. He played, Commissioner Gordon in the Nolan trilogy. That wasn't really much of a stretch for him. You want to see an impressive film resume? Go to IMDb and look up Gary Oldman. So, if you can get Gary Oldman to be in your film, you're doing very, very well, and I would be ecstatic if they could get an actor like him to be in Star Wars, because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, okay? That's something that you will quickly find out about me. In fact, my old video store was named Empire Entertainment because of the fact that I love Star Wars. So if we can get Gary Oldman in Star Wars, good job. All right, the next topic we're going to talk about today is, and this is again a couple weeks old, but I feel the need to comment on it here, okay? Philip Seymour Hoffman, who passed away on February 2nd, 2014, at the age of 46. Now, I'm not really going to get too in-depth here on how he died, because he died of an apparent drug overdose. Apparent being a pretty loose interpretation, in my opinion. I don't really have sympathy for people who die of drug overdoses, okay? But I understand that addiction is a problem, yada yada. I'm not talking about that. What I want to focus on is my favorite Philip Seymour Hoffman performances. He's been in some of my favorite movies of all time. Okay, we're going to start with Almost Famous, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. The Big Lebowski, one of my all-time favorite movies. Magnolia, one of my all-time favorite movies. And then, not one of my all-time favorite movies, but definitely a phenomenal performance from Philip Seymour Hoffman is Doubt. That movie, if you've never seen it, it's pretty intense. I highly recommend it. Doubt is very, very good. Also, on top of that, obviously, he won the Oscar for Capote, and he was nominated for The Master, which is a crazy performance by him as well. So, sad to see him go, especially in the prime. He's 46 years old, he had a lot of good acting left with him. He was currently shooting the last two Hunger Games movies, most of which was done, apparently. So they're going to kind of digitally edit him in for the final, 7 scenes or whatever they had to do. But it's always sad when someone dies. It's even sadder when they die from something like that. So yeah, it's a bummer. You won't get a lot of sympathy from me personally, because, you flirt with disaster, it can hit you sometimes, But he's a dad, and me being a dad, it's kind of sad to see, him leave 3 young kids behind. So my heart and thoughts are with his family, obviously. Hopefully they will, hopefully someone learns from this tragedy. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, so final topic of the day is going to be about the recently announced Expendabelles, okay? This is going to be produced by Sylvester Stallone. It's basically like a female version of his quote-unquote popular Expendables franchise. Now, I think the Expendables in general is pretty much an enormous waste of time, but I'll talk about the Expendabelles here, okay? And I'll have to give my opinions on it. So, this is a synopsis of the film. Get your ridiculous hats on. When America's Navy SEALs are wiped out trying to penetrate the island of a deadly depot who has captured one of the world's top nuclear scientists, it becomes clear that there is no such thing as the right man for the job, and that this is a mission so impossible that only women can handle it. The only way in? Some of the world's deadliest female operatives must pose as high-class call girls shipped in by private plane to satisfy a dictator, and instead save the scientist and the day. Oh man. So yeah, if you don't take movies seriously, which, again, I enjoy a good action flick that's kind of no-brainer, this is basically the biggest no-brainer film plot of all time. It's like pretty much every cliche known to man all balled into one. And again, this film's not supposed to take itself seriously, so I guess that's okay. Now, the casting rumors for the lead here, pretty interesting. Cameron Diaz, Mia Jovovich, and Meryl Streep. Really? Meryl Streep's going to play a high-class call girl? I certainly hope not. I love Meryl Streep. Speaking of Doubt, she was in that. She was great. I don't want to see her as a high-class call girl, though, okay? So those are the people rumored for the lead role. Now, if I had my way about it, I would pull some of the following names to star in this movie, okay? Halle Berry. Wouldn't mind seeing her as a high-class call girl. Sigourney Weaver. She would be awesome as the lead, I think. Jennifer Garner, Jennifer Lopez, Sandra Bullock, Uma Thurman, Lucy Liu, Gina Carano, Sharon Stone, Zoe Saldana, Kate Beckinsale, Eva Mendes, Jessica Alba, and finally, not so much I want to see her as a cowgirl, but if you want to be in an Expendabelles franchise, Linda Hamilton would be a solid choice. So yeah, if they can get any of those girls to be in the film, I think it'll do alright. If they get all those girls, they can do extremely well. But in general, I'm not sure why they feel the need to make this movie. I mean, I guess maybe people are tired of the Expendables and they want to go see some, skin on film. But if Meryl Streep and Linda Hamilton are in it, I guess if you're pulling in that, 70-plus demographic, you'll be okay. But I don't know. I don't know about that whole decision. So anyway, that's going to do it for today. Be sure to join us next week as we talk about the newest week in movie news. And you have a great day. Talk to you later.